what happens if your literary agent gets fired from the lit agency that they work at? This is something that we're seeing pop up again and again in the publishing space because literary agents are human and some of them make some not so great decisions. And just this week, we had a huge issue where a woman got a query and then turned that query down, but turned immediately around and asked social media to write that exact same book, but better. And she was let go from her literary agency. So now this person no longer is in association with that lit agency, but she was also the agent to a lot of other authors who are now orphaned. They no longer have a home. What happens if your lit agent gets fired? Now, in some cases, you could potentially choose to stay with that person if they're choosing to go out on their own. This fired lit agent may choose to start their own business or have their own little boutique literary agency. They still have the connections. They're still connected to the people that they knew at those different publishers. However, depending on what they've done to cause them to be fired, that might have severed those relationships with those publishing houses. So while they might be starting their own boutique lit agency and they have, technically speaking, those connections, they may not have access to it, or they may not be a trusted source of information to those publishers, especially if it was a public spectacle when they got kicked out of the group. So you can potentially go with that person, but it's probably not in your best interest. Every once in a while, there will be an outlier. Something will happen and they'll get fired inappropriately. It'll be a thing. But I would say in the vast majority of the cases, it's not a great choice to stay with them because they've done something that warranted being fired from a very, very, I don't want to say cushy, but like that is a pretty secure job if you're with one of the bigger lit agencies. Like, you know, you're going to get business there. So if they get fired, probably not a good choice to stay with them. So if that's off the table, what are your options? Well, the literary agency might, but is not required to offer you to have representation with someone else at that agency. Now, if you're one of the lucky ones, if you are a high-selling author, if you have a lot of things that are going to benefit that company, they may want to take you on. There may be another agent there that really likes you and just really wants to foster a relationship with you and to champion your books with the other publishers. You may be one of the lucky ones that gets taken on by one of them. But for a lot of people, I would even venture to say probably most of those people, they could sign on with the other agents at that lit agency, but they're not going to have the same passion. They're not going to fight for the book the way that your agent would have because they have their own people and they didn't choose you. They inherited you. And that oftentimes in the publishing space means that you're going to get second-rate effort, if that. I have friends who were with a publisher who closed down and they gave their books, their authors, over to another publisher. And of all of the people that transitioned from the closed publisher to the other publisher, not a single one of them is happy. None of them are being taken care of well. None of their books are being featured. None of their books are being given the time, effort, marketing money, all of those things that the ones that they chose are getting. They are very much second rate in that publishing house, and a lot of them left because of it. And we see this again and again. So if you're being adopted by somebody else in that publishing space, please make sure they're really on fire for you and your books. Treat it like it's a brand new thing. Don't just accept whoever is given to you. Do an interview with them. Make sure you're on the same page. Make sure you're aligned. Make sure they truly like your book. Make sure they truly like the trajectory of your author career. Make sure they have a plan for you. Make sure they see a plan in the future for you. Make sure it's a good fit as if this was a brand new thing. And if not, you need to walk away because if you're only getting second or third rate effort, your career is over. That's just what it is. Now, you can choose to leave, you can choose to walk away, you can choose to get your rights back, you can choose to go elsewhere. If it is a public thing, if it's a public spectacle, oftentimes you will see other literary agents from other companies kind of come crawling out and saying, "Hey, can I see what you got? Can I see? I would like to help you. You can help me. Let's see about working together." So you do have an edge there. You may have the ability to have your pick of other literary agents, again, depending on how your career did, depending on how your book was doing, depending on what was going on. Now, if you already have something that's like right in the middle of being signed with a company. Like, let's say that fired agent took your book to a big company and they're like dealing with the contract side of things, then maybe adopt one of the people inside of that literary house just for that book, just for that manuscript, to finish the negotiations and then decide what you're going to do. That's totally fine. But once you have that done, put yourself back out there, see what you can get. You may have to go back into the querying trenches, but if whatever happened was loud enough, bad enough, public enough, you're probably going to have some people who are looking to help. And so you may have access to some things that are a little bit faster than you would if you went back into the query trenches. But be aware that if your lit agent gets fired for whatever reason, you're going to have a long road ahead of you, and you have to be very fast, very mindful, and very attentive of what you are going to be doing with your manuscripts. Get all of your paperwork in line immediately and start making decisions and start taking action. Do not sit there and panic. Do not think, what am I going to do? I'm just going to see how this plays out. Do not. Be proactive. Use this in the moment to do whatever you can make happen for your book. Because if you wait, you're going to have to go back into the trenches with everybody. If you are not taking actionable steps, if you're not being vocal about it, if you're not doing something, you will get left behind. So you have to be able to look around and not panic and assess the situation and then start taking action, start asking questions, start making moves. Even if your literary agency is going to help you through this process, it doesn't mean you should just rely on them. If you get orphaned and they want to have a conversation about how to handle you, you're also trying to deal with all these other agents, all these other things. Because if you have options, you can do better for yourself. You can get a better contract. You can get better options. You can get better access to things. You don't have to stay with something just because you were with something. So there's a lot. And if you are in this situation, like if you're in this situation right now and you need help, you need guidance, you need somebody to hold your hand, somebody to cry with, somebody to talk you through this process, or a nice little slap across the face to get you moving. You know how in videos, in movies, in TV shows, when somebody's panicking, they just boom, and that gets them right back into it. I can do that virtually for you, and I can help you to get into the right space. I'm not going to charge you for anything. I'm literally just helping you with this. So if you find yourself in this situation and you just need help, I am here. I have long since been a part of the underground author movement, where when bad things happen with agents or publishers or things and people need help, we are here to help you, and we help you through the process and we guide you. And it's just literally just the community wrapping their arms around you and helping you through that situation. So I've been doing this for years. If you've got questions on this, if you're going through this right now, please, by all means, come to me. It's confidential. I'll give you as much help as possible. If you need a lawyer, I've got a great lawyer I can recommend. And we'll help you through this process. We will go through everything we can with you as a community to make sure you are taken care of when you end up in a bad situation like this. Now, in order to try to circumnavigate this, before you sign on with an agent, please pay attention to what your agent is doing. Are they on social media talking? Are they on videos? Are they on live streams? Are they going to different events? People who run their mouths publicly sometimes get caught and sometimes don't. But you can do your research. There are people I know, and you've heard my horror stories about the really bad publisher that wanted my first book back in the day that I turned down. She is very, very vocal and very, very public. And if you pay attention to the things that she said, if you watch the things that she says, you see the red flags. So just because she was putting out really well-known books and just because she was doing really cool things in the published space doesn't mean she's a good person. And she got caught several times and went through several lawsuits, and you've heard the stories before. But you can get a lot of information by checking into these people before you sign with them. Not everybody's going to be public. Not everybody's going to be on social media, but do the best that you can. Drop your questions on this down below and follow along for more daily videos helping you navigate the world of publishing, from your writing to your publishing to your marketing, to make this your most profitable author year ever with the least amount of stress and overwhelm as you're creating your content so you can live your best author life while also still having a life. We'll see you then.